Hello, welcome to Medicine for the Soul Yoga. My name is Kat and this is part 10 of our series to Crow. And today we'll be focusing on the core, as always, but really developing our strength and measuring how far we've come from the start. And we'll also be working into the hips with some hip mobility exercises and a really lovely deep inner hip exercise at the end, because that's also very important for crow pose. So yeah, let's get going. Okay, so we're going to do a quick little warm up today. We'll start in tabletop. So fingers spread, knees underneath the hips. And we want this real feeling of lifting out the ground. So this real engaged tabletop. So pressing down with the tops of the feet, really feeling into the mat, spreading the fingers. We're not rounding the back, but we're almost rounding the top of the shoulders. So this real sense of height in between the tops of the shoulder blades. So it's really active, pushing down with the feet, pushing down with the hands. Slightly engaging the core, but still allowing the breath to travel down into the tummy. And we breathe deeply in and out through the nose. Just taking a few really grounding breaths here to really settle into the practice. Remind yourself why you're here. And we're going to draw the chin all the way down to the chest. Feel a lovely lengthening across the back of the neck. We'll gently wiggle the forehead side to side. Good. And just coming back to center, lifting the chin up. We're going to look over the right shoulder. Come back to center and then look over the left. Good. Gently come back to center. We're going to lift up the toes. Just give the ankles a little roll around. And then placing them on the mat, but we're going to tuck the toes this time. Just begin to move the hips forward and back. So we're working with toe flexibility here, which is quite important in our crow pose actually, as we kind of roll onto our big toes. So just stretching out the toes. Walking the hands slightly forward and then letting the hips sink down as we keep this movement as traveling forward and back. Keeping the toes tucked. Can we match it with the breath as we inhale, coming forward, exhale, pushing back, sink the hips back. Inhale forward, perhaps dipping the hips a bit lower, exhale back. So really warming up the body, and make this movement your own. It's quite fluid, and however this feels good for you. So flowing in a way that feels good for you. This is your practice. It's kind of funky version of cat-cow. Good. And next time we bring the hips back, we're just going to pause here. We're going to release the feet onto the mat. That feeling of really pushing out of the feet as we draw the hands up. We're going to roll the shoulders, bring the fingers behind the feet and lean back, roll the shoulders away from the ears. So we're going to really stretch out the feet here and build up some flexibility in the toes. So we're going to try and lean back, and if we can, maybe lifting one knee off the mat, maybe even lifting two. Give it a go. You do have to lean your chest and your weight quite far back to be able to get the weight off the knees, but trust yourself. And we can really roll back, and we're stretching out the front of the foot. Keep the elbows hugging in so the chest is open. You might find you can even bring the elbows all the way down. Just work with where you're at today. Breathing into that space. And gently we'll come back and roll ourselves up. Really good. Bring the hands forward. Shake out the ankles. Give them a little roll. So we're going to tuck the toes, keep everything else the same. Fingers are spread on the mat. I say that a million times. Keeping the hips over the knees, we're going to hover the knees off the mat. Just a couple of inches, keeping the neck long and squeezing the core into the spine. Focus on the breath. We're beginning to really activate the core here, the whole length of the core. We can feel it working. So we're going to do something a little bit different. We're going to lift the knees up slightly and bring the heels to the right, and then bring the heels and hover them above the mat, and then lift the hips slightly, draw the both heels to the left. Try and keep the shoulders square, and then back heels come down. Inhale up, heels to the right. Exhale, draw them down. Inhale up to the left. Exhale and down. One more with your breath. Inhale up. Exhale down. Inhale up to the left. Exhale back to center, down, hover. Keep the shoulders over the wrists, you can do it. Don't forget to breathe. And release the knees, really good. Sink the hips back towards the heels, slide the hands forward. Take a few deep breaths here. Feel the shoulder blades just melting. And then drawing ourselves back up to the shins, rolling the shoulders. Good, so we're gonna bring the palms together. We'll just warm up the wrist before we practice too much into the core. We're gonna work with some planks. And if you remember at the start of the course, we measured how long we could hold the plank for. We started with 30 seconds, and then we built up to 40, and then 50, and then a minute. So we're going to do the same again, and I'll let you know the sections of time that we get to so that you can log yourself where you've come from. Hopefully there's an improvement from last time. Really push yourself. It's a lot of mindset work, really. If you believe you can do it, you can do it. So, well, to an extent. So we're going to be really positive coming into this plank, and this is going to be one of the strongest planks we've ever done. There's no reason why it shouldn't be. So spread the fingers, elbows are behind the wrists. We're going to tuck the toes, and we're going to draw the legs out long, squeezing in the glutes and the kneecaps, lifting up. So we're going to hold from now. Focus on the breath. Keep the shoulders over the elbows. Pushing out of the elbows, have that sense of feeling of rounding into the shoulders again. So it's really active. Glutes are squeezing as well. We're breathing deeply through the nose. Can you hear the breath? Good. So that is 45 seconds already. You've done so well. Keep breathing. If you're wobbling, that means it's working. Squeeze the belly button into the spine. Keep the hips down. Notice if you've brought them up a bit, sink them down. That's a minute. We're going to hold for longer if you can. Stay with me. We're going to hold for a minute 20. 10 more seconds. Don't worry if you're shaking. If you're finished, just rest. 5 more seconds and it'll be 1 minute 30 and we'll finish there. Rest if you need to, of course. And bring the knees down. Really good. So wherever you got to there, be super proud of yourself. Remember that number. Hopefully it's built up from the first time. Just rest for a moment in child's pose. Good, and then we'll curl ourselves up. Roll the shoulders. So we're going to do another core exercise that I love, that's Pilates inspired core exercise, and it really works the whole length of the spine, the core, and wraps around into the obliques as well. So we start in tabletop. We're going to inhale, lift the right leg up, keep the left foot pushing down. So we want, again, this feeling of lifting, of height. Option to stay here, or option to bring the left hand up as well. Try to do that if you can. So here you'll notice it, pressing into the top of the left foot will really help ground you. The fingers of the right hand are spread. Big inhale here. As we exhale, we're going to keep the hands and the feet shoulder and hip height, but we're going to bring them out to the side. So the left hand comes to the left, right foot comes to the right, and then bring it back in. Good. Exhale as we draw them out to the edges, to the sides. Inhale, squeeze back in, keep them the same height. Imagine you've got a wine glass on your back you don't want to spill. We're going to move again. So we're keeping everything else the same. Inhale back. Good. One more. How far can you move over? That little bit more. And squeeze back. So good. Bring the left hand down. Keep the right leg lifting. We're going to tuck the toes of this left foot and inhale, reach up to three-legged downward dog. Take a few deep breaths here. Bring that right foot down, find our downward dog. Inhale, rolling into our high plank. We'll take our vinyasa. Exhale, drop the knees, drop the chest and chin, keep the elbows hugging in. Inhale into our back bend, roll the shoulders down the back. Exhale, back to downward facing dog. Pedal out the heels, lengthening out those hamstrings. Big deep breath through the nose. Good. Gently we'll release the knees down onto the mat, and we're going to come into the other side. So if your balance is struggling a little bit, we can just move with the leg. We don't have to bring up the opposite hand as well. So just working within your limits and what's comfortable for you. We're going to inhale, lift the left leg up, squeeze the core, pushing out of the ground, really spreading the fingers. So we're squeezing the belly button into the spine. Option to stay here or option to lift the right hand up. Pushing into this right foot. Is the weight even in the right foot and in the left hand? It's a really stable basis for you. Big inhale, big exhale. We're going to draw the left foot to the left, right hand to the right. Good. Bring it back to center. Inhale, drawing out to the side. Squeeze. How far can you travel? Exhale, back to center. Squeeze the core in. Good. One more. Two more, actually. Keep going. Fluid movements here. Remember that wine glass on your back. One more. Squeeze back to center. Really, really good. Place the right hand down. We're going to tuck the toes of this right foot and inhale, lift up. Big deep breath. Roll the shoulders away from the ears. Bring the left foot down. Inhale, rolling into our plank. Option to drop the knees in our vinyasa or take a full vinyasa, where we come to half plank, elbows at 45-degree angle, and then we push the chest and dip the hips down. Inhale, exhale back to our downward facing dog. Really good. Pedal out the heels, take a moment here. Big deep breath through the nose. Inhale, gently drawing the knees back. We'll rest for a moment in child's pose, this time bringing the hands either side of the body, palms facing up. Feel the shoulders just melting to either side. Feel proud of yourself, building the strength. Good, we'll place one hand and then the other underneath the shoulders and gently draw the forehead up. Good. So before we get tired, it's about time we practice some crow pose. So first of all, we'll just open out the hips because we haven't actually warmed them up much. So we'll come into low yogi squat and gently move side to side. And then just pausing in the center, lifting the chest, letting the hips sink. So we practiced this a bit last time, working into the hips. Really focusing on letting the hips draw down. As we exhale, we're going to straighten the legs and bring the toes in front. Come into a nice forward fold. We're gonna turn to the long edge of the mat, and we're gonna come into a wide leg forward fold. So we're gonna bring the feet out wide and sink the chest down. So we feel that in the inside of the hips here. Focus on the breath. Hands are underneath the shoulders and elbows are pointing back. We're gonna bring the right hand onto the left knee or towards the left ankle, and inhale, lift up the left hand coming into a twist. Focus on the breath. Good, and then left hand comes onto right ankle, big inhale, lift the right hand up. Gently come back to center, heel toe the feet in, not fully, just enough to sink the hips, and we're gonna do some hip mobility here, lengthening and strengthening the hip flexors. So moving side to side, maybe even drawing the hands up. Focus on the breath. We're gonna pause when we get to the left-hand side. They can let the left heel lift up, that's fine. Maybe letting the right heel slide slightly away. Maybe even drawing the left heel down. Focus on the breath. We can bring the hands down to help if we need. And then we're gonna travel to the right, keeping as low as we can. Use the hands if you need to. Let the left toe lift. We can have the right heel lifting off the mat if needed. Focus on the breath. Good, and then we'll gently come back up to the center, heel toe the feet in and turn to face the front of the mat. Just rest for a moment in a relaxed forward fold. Bringing the feet out wide, we're going to come into our crow pose, so the hips are nice and lengthened now. And you know how it works for you. So finding your alignment, and we're having a play with it. Fingers are spread, middle fingers facing forward, lifting the knees, lifting the heels, diving the chest forward. We bring the feet a bit closer into center to help us take the weight off the toes. We're balancing on the toes if possible. Maybe we can tuck the toes up of one foot, maybe the other. Gently tapping, building strength. Don't worry about not having flight here. This is a very hard pose to hold. So even just by holding this, we're building that strength we need, that stamina. Focus on the breath. Release when you need to. Enter it again if you'd like to. Any little shakes and wobbles that you need to do. Big deep breath through the nose. And we'll enter it again, lifting the heels. Find this real lift. So you want to almost feel like you're diving up into it, like an arc coming sort of up and forward. We need that height. Maybe we can feel the fingertips. My fingertips are all white right now because they're all pressing into the ground. They're helping me balance. If I go a bit more to one side or a bit more forward, I use my fingertips to push down on and draw me back to center. Good, and whenever you're finished, we're gonna come into a nice hip opener and working on the inside of the hips. So we'll draw the knees out wide, coming into frog pose. The ankles want to be directly behind the knees, and we slide the knees away from each other. Maybe we stay on our hands, or maybe we can draw the forearms down. So the toes are facing the outside edges of the mat, the short edges. And the key thing here is to draw the hips back. So sinking the hips back, feeling the chest melting. Big deep breath through the nose. Sink the hips back a bit more. Focus on the breath in this very deep hip stretch. Perhaps you can even let the knees melt a bit further apart. We're really working the inside of the hips here. We need these lengthened and strengthened for holding us in our crow pose. And this time we're really letting the shoulders melt away. So unlike how we've had before with this kind of active curved shoulder blades, we're really letting them melt down and completely soften. Breathing into the tummy. Push the hips back for our final breath. Gently we'll come out of it by letting the hips come forward. We'll bring ourselves onto our hands to begin with, and then we'll bring one foot into center and then the other foot into center, and then gently sit the hips back onto the heels, draw the knees in, really good. And we'll just come to sit on the mat, bring the feet forward, bring the soles of the feet together, have quite a lot of space between the feet and the body. And we'll come into a gentle forward fold, really lengthening out the lower back and very gently and softly swaying side to side. Big deep breaths through the nose. Softening the head, letting the neck sway side to side. Big deep breaths. And gently winding our way up, draw the knees in. Shuffling ourselves forward, and we'll roll ourselves so gently back onto our backs. Holding the hands over the knees, and just let the knees fall away from the body and be supported in the hands. I love this stretch. You feel the whole lower back just kind of melting and folding onto the ground. Relax the shoulder blades, relax the face. Big deep breaths through the nose. We're going to open the knees out to the side, coming into happy baby. Arms come to the inside edges of the legs. We gently draw the ankles down over the knees. Rock very gently side to side. Big deep breaths through the nose. Good, and then we can draw the feet down, let the feet melt and find the mat. We'll come into a nice spinal twist to finish, so we wrap the right leg over the left. Let both legs fall over to the left-hand side, look over the right shoulder, palm facing up. Take a big inhale, big exhale, soften. Gently bringing yourself up to center and wrapping the left leg over the right. Both legs falling over to the right side. Look over the left shoulder, palm facing up. Big inhale. And exhale, feel everything release and softening. Gently bringing ourselves up to center and lengthen one leg out long and then the other. Palms facing up and entering a lovely Shavasana. Being proud of what your body is learning and growing each time you practice. Being proud of you on this journey.